Teraz tam mówić od razu? Nie, to tam...
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our CAP Strategic Plan seminar, focusing on developing AKIS within your own member states. I hope you all enjoyed yesterday and have had a chance to think through the wonderful presentations and inspiration we had from our presenters who joined us. And I'm very excited to say that we are opening our seminar for day 2 with Commissioner Janusz Wojciechowski. So without further ado, I will hand over to the Commissioner. Welcome.
And knowledge exchange in agriculture. I was supposed to be with you today in my home country, but current circumstances do unfortunately not allow for this. However, due to innovation and digital technologies, we can nevertheless be together today to further promote those key areas. In the Commission's proposals for the future Common Agriculture Policy, innovation plays a key role in addressing the overarching challenge of global food security and the question of how to produce more with less in a sustainable manner. In addition, the European Green Deal and its Farm to Fork strategy hinge on a modern, innovative and forward-looking agriculture policy. The Common Agriculture Policy is therefore an essential instrument to deliver on the Green Deal priorities. Innovation and knowledge transfer will have a major role to play in this, as they are key enablers for change. Agriculture will increasingly become knowledge intensive in the next decades. So how to get there? The European Innovation Partnership Agriculture, the EIP-AGRI, has a 7-year track record, a successful model of developing knowledge and innovation, the interactive innovation model. This has been founded under the CAP and Horizon Europe, and after a few years experimentation by the member states, and many of you are here today, it has become a major success. However, there is also more and more evidence that the links between research, advisors, farmers and industry are still too weak. Agriculture knowledge and innovation system, what we call AKIS, needs to be more efficient and interactive in order to foster this flow of knowledge and the farming sector readiness to innovate. I'm proud to say that this is also one fundamental and strategic brick of the new European Digital House for Next Generation, announced yesterday by Madam President von der Leyen in her message addressed on the 2020 State of the Union, addressed in the European Parliament. We provided for a range of tools to support all 9 specific objectives of the Common Agriculture Policy across all dimensions of sustainability, economic, environmental and social, and AKIS is our toolbox for this. In the next 7-year period, we expect great progress across the national and regional agriculture knowledge and innovation system through focused investments under the CAP plans that bring closer together all who use and produce knowledge and innovation, also supporting this evolution with significant funding under the Horizon Europe program. We are not starting from 0 point. Improvements are already happening thanks to the groundwork laid down by EIP-AGRI. The future measures that farmers, researchers and advisors are co-creating has all chances to be a success because it has been improved and has been promoted peer-to-peer during several years. Therefore, the future beneficiaries will be much more motivated to use it and really put it into practice on their farm. In addition, the advisors will spread the news and engage more farmers. I'm sure this afternoon you will learn more about this extremely interesting process. What is better than building future CAP measures together with the future beneficiaries? I'm persuaded we can build up upon such experiences across the European Union in using the national CAP strategy plans to indicate how to improve interlinkages within the innovation ecosystem and to outline an AKIS strategy by indicating their AKIS strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and a way to address them, exactly as for other CAP objectives. Like in all strategies, the plan should look for complementarity and coherence of the different interventions. For instance, in order to share the outcomes of the all EIP operational groups and multi-actor projects under Horizon with advisors who are trusted by farmers and are able to influence their farming practices. This will also improve the impact of the many research and innovation projects in which we have invested. One key challenge at the national level will be for AKIS actors to come out of their silos and collaborate more intensively, sharing farmers' needs and useful knowledge and innovative approaches among each other. In this seminar, you will see many good examples of that. This will include high-level agreements between the involved ministries of agriculture, research, education, innovation, etc. This will be only one of the aspects that this seminar will help to address. During the next 2 days, you will be exploring 4 key areas for the future CAP plans and their AKIS strategies. The first, how to bridge the gap between science and practice, linking research and practice. The second, how to strengthen advisory functions and improving the quality of advice. The third, how to support and connect operational groups better, also across borders. And finally, the fourth, how to enhance the use of digital means for more effective knowledge exchange. I'm convinced that the impressive line up of speakers and examples that have been put together will provide a lot of inspiration for your work in shaping the future AKIS in your countries and in the whole European Union. I invite you to take the opportunity offered by this event to learn from each other, as many of you have been doing in the last years, get to know more about your AKIS and keep up your efforts in investing in an agriculture of knowledge and innovation so that the future of AKIS is bright. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Wojciechowski. That was a really inspirational welcome and introduction to our next 2 days, and some interesting ideas and concepts around AKIS as a toolbox and building CAP measures with beneficiaries and supporting people to move from their silos to better collaborative working. So that was a lovely introduction for us. Thank you. I'm going to briefly run through with all of you now our programme for the day. So this morning we are looking very much at the basics around AKIS strategies. So we have several inspirational speakers. We'll be having different projects and different bits of inspiration shared with us throughout the day. And as well, we have a fantastic presentation from Inge van Oost from DG AGRI, who will talk us through the elements that we all need, the building blocks of a well-functioning AKIS. We'll also have our usual polls and some blind dates built in as well. And then later on this afternoon, some more inspiration, some more opportunities for you to find out what's going on in other areas, and hopefully opportunities to listen to people that you might also want to catch up with later, to have longer conversations with or find out more from. With all our presenters, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. So whilst they're presenting and you're listening, if a question springs to mind, please do put that in the chat, and then our question moderator, Mark, will direct those through to the presenter for you. And as always, any questions you want, as many questions as you want, then please do bring those forward. So we're going to start with our block of inspirational speakers, and we would all love to be in Poland together, and we would all love to be able to be sharing more in coffee breaks and lunches and evenings. So I'm really pleased to say that we have with us both Minister Ardanowski and Undersecretary of State Ryszard Kamiński from the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Poland. I believe that Minister Ardanowski is speaking in Polish, so I'll just give you a brief opportunity to get your Kudo translator out if you need that. And then very pleased to be handing over to Minister Ardanowski, and so sad, Minister, that we're not there with you.
Serdecznie Was wszystkich pozdrawiam, Pana Komisarza i wszystkich uczestników tego seminarium. Żyjemy w trudnych czasach. Pandemia sprawia, że nie możemy spotkać się osobiście, a takie spotkania są szczególnie cenne. Pozwalają budować wspólnotę, zawierać przyjaźnie, ale dobrze, że chociaż technika pozwala nam, byśmy się mogli widzieć i słyszeć. Bardzo się cieszę, że sprawa wsparcia dla rolników nabiera praktycznego wymiaru. Dlatego, że ja jestem rolnikiem, o czym wszyscy wiedzą. Może czasy współczesne stawiają szczególnie wysokie wymagania wobec rolników. Może nigdy w historii te wymagania nie były tak duże. Zarówno globalizacja, która jest i szansą, i wyzwaniem, różnego rodzaju anomalia pogodowe, klęski, które nas dotykają, ale również coraz większe wymagania konsumentów, również społeczeństwa, które chce dbać o środowisko i z ochrony środowiska uczyniło wręcz jeden z najważniejszych paradygmatów rozwoju. To wszystko sprawia, że wiedza, którą rolnicy posiadali, wiedza przekazywana z pokolenia na pokolenie, z ojca na syna, ta wiedza już nie wystarcza. Jeżeli byśmy pozostawili rolników bez skutecznego systemu podnoszenia zarówno ich kwalifikacji zawodowych, ale również umiejętności radzenia sobie w tym skomplikowanym świecie, w którym żyjemy, to będą mieli ogromne problemy, przekładające się nie tylko na ich sytuację materialną, ale również będą mieli problemy psychologiczne, które zresztą są w wielu krajach Unii Europejskiej bardzo dostrzegane. W moim kraju my z polityki wobec wsi i rolnictwa uczyniliśmy jeden z najważniejszych elementów polityki państwa. Może nie we wszystkich krajach tak wysoki priorytet obszarów wiejskich i rolnictwa w polityce rządu jest jak w Polsce. Mamy specyficzne rolnictwo, które jest z jednej strony naszą szansą, również i nastręcza wielu problemów. To jest spuścizna historyczna, polegająca również na tym, że mamy bardzo dużo małych gospodarstw, ale również mamy ogromne gospodarstwa, które w części Polski pozostały po czasach komunizmu. Chcemy, żeby te mniejsze gospodarstwa również pozostały. Tam jest może szczególnie trudno radzić sobie, żeby na stosunkowo niewielkim obszarze, areale, przy ograniczonych możliwościach produkcyjnych prowadzić efektywnie te gospodarstwa, żeby dostarczały środków do życia. Często jednego z kilku źródeł obok pracy poza rolnictwem. Chcemy tych gospodarstw jak najwięcej uratować, jak najwięcej utrzymać. Dlatego, że gospodarstwa, rolnictwo to nie jest tylko produkcja żywności. Nie wolno sprowadzać rolnika tylko i wyłącznie do wytwórcy jakichś dóbr poszukiwanych przez konsumentów. To są pełnowartościowi, pełnowymiarowi ludzie, którzy mają swoje aspiracje życiowe, marzenia życiowe, chcą i mają do tego absolutnie prawo, by realizować się pod każdym względem, nie tylko być dobrym rolnikiem. Rolnikom, jak powiedziałem, jest potrzebne wsparcie. Wsparcie na co dzień, nie tylko na poziomie edukacji, ale wsparcie nieustające. Dlatego AKIS jako system łączący różne instytucje, które mogą wesprzeć rolników, jest czymś naprawdę bardzo wartościowym. W Polsce to jest publiczne doradztwo rolnicze. Jesteśmy jednym z nielicznych krajów, który utrzymuje i wspiera, i utrzyma, i będzie wspierał publiczne doradztwo rolnicze. Mamy dobrze zorganizowane szkoły rolnicze, z których część, ta najważniejsza, podlega również Ministerstwu Rolnictwa. Mamy naukę, która musi odpowiedzieć na szereg wątpliwości i pytań zgłaszanych przez rolników. Mamy 10 instytutów naukowo-badawczych, które również podlegają Ministerstwu Rolnictwa. Mamy organizacje społeczne, które chcą się angażować nie tylko w reprezentowanie interesów rolników, nie tylko w organizowanie protestów, jeżeli taka jest potrzeba, ale również w edukowanie, w przekazywanie wiedzy, tłumaczenie rolnikom również tych różnych trudnych wyborów, konieczności, jakie współczesny świat stawia. Chcemy zaangażować w to również prywatne firmy, przedsiębiorców, tych wszystkich, którzy wspierają rolnictwo, które jest przecież dużym rynkiem zbytu również, którzy pozyskują surowce z rolnictwa i to jest przedmiotem ich działalności. Chcemy, żeby wszyscy w tym łańcuchu, skomplikowanym łańcuchu, znaleźli swoje miejsce i wzajemnie się wspierali. Polityka Unii Europejskiej, o której mówił Janusz Wojciechowski, serdecznie jeszcze raz go pozdrawiam. Cieszymy się, że pewna wizja, pewne przekonanie o ważnej roli rolnictwa, ale tego rolnictwa właśnie powiązanego również ze środowiskiem, z przyrodą, rolnictwa opartego o rodzinę, o gospodarstwa rodzinne, że jest przekazywane przez pana komisarza i zaczyna znajdować w Europie uznanie również u tych, którzy całkiem inne modele rolnictwa do tej pory realizowali. To jest, myślę, wielki wkład również naszej części Europy, nie tylko Polski, naszej części Europy, Europy Środkowej, Europy Wschodniej, w to wielkie dobrodziejstwo, jakim jest wspólnota europejska. Ale ta polityka definiowana dla całej gospodarki jako Zielony Ład, a dla rolnictwa te dwie strategie od pola do stołu i bioróżnorodności, to jest polityka również wielkich wyzwań. Zmiany myślenia, zmiany priorytetów, prowadzenia rolnictwa w taki sposób, żeby zaspokajało potrzeby konsumentów, ale jednocześnie sprawiało, że świat, w którym żyjemy, będzie nie pogorszony, a może również i polepszony, poprawiony. To wszystko jest również obszarem aktywności tego porozumienia na rzecz dostarczania wiedzy i innowacji dla rolnictwa. Nauka ma szczególną rolę rozwiązywania problemów, których może kiedyś nie było. Ale jednocześnie różnego rodzaju rozwiązania, które w Europie powstają, mogą istotnie pomóc rolnikom w przezwyciężeniu tych różnych problemów, zarówno w efektywności rolnictwa, wysokich plonach, wydajnościach, ale również w zastępowaniu pracy ludzkiej, której coraz bardziej na wsi brakuje. To wszystko również mieści się w obszarze badań naukowych i pewnej innowacyjności, która może dla rolnictwa być szalenie ważna. Serdecznie pozdrawiam Was wszystkich, życzę dobrego dnia, bo to, czym się zajmujecie, jest naprawdę ważne i zasługuje na ogromny szacunek. Wszystkiego dobrego. Pozdrawiam.
Agriculture Knowledge and Innovation System in Poland. Ryszard Kamiński, Vice Minister of Agriculture. About myself, few words. Last 14 years, agriculture advisor, director of the regional center in Minikowo, 200 employees, 120 field advisors in Central Poland, 25,000 farmer clients every year. Personally, I'm also a small farmer, active in the local society, local action group, rural village association, plus scientists working for Polish Academy of Science. That's about myself, and this is also why I'm trying to say a few words about Polish AKIS system, because the system is the key of this presentation. AKIS in Poland, this is about people, institution, companies, and cooperation system. That's how we see it in Poland. We would like to say that AKIS is present in Polish agriculture and rural development, whereas everything could be better. Cooperation system is something what we should build step by step. And how it works in practice, this is my next slide. Our view, not only our, but our view in Poland is that farmers are in the middle, in the center of our activities. For them, we're doing any kind of supporting activities. We have the closest partners, stakeholders, suppliers, customers, but also administration bodies, institutions working for farmers, agriculture advisory services, public, something like 3,000 advisors in Poland, agriculture chambers, they also doing advisory for farmers, and private advisory companies. They are quite active. We have quite a lot of private advisors. So there's quite a balance between private and public support advisory system. Of course, in the system, you could say we have also research institutions, 10 institutes directly run by ministry, plus 8 regional universities, technology transfers, plus secondary vocational education, around 60 secondary schools plus support system is there. And now networks, NRD, EIP-AGRI system, plus media, plus different means of communication between them. Looks like there is a lot of potential communication and support, whereas the question mark is whether it works properly, whether it could work better. Strength of the system in Poland, definitely. AKIS system is present. We have a wide range of training and advisory service for farmers already offered by quite experienced public advisory staff. Some could say that's true, that we have quite experience. This means not very young advisors. So we need new advisors. We need to train them. And this is about what should be done. Relatively high authority of the research and teaching staff. Relatively high farmers' trust in advisors. Developing network of contacts and cooperation between partners of AKIS, and growing involvement of researchers and agriculture advisors in implementation of research projects. What we need, what are the needs for AKIS development? Still, as I said, we need to improve the qualification and skills of staff involved in the knowledge and innovation transfer and exchange. Ensuring that the availability of professional advisory and training service for farmers and rural residents. Strengthening cooperation between partners in the AKIS. ICT platforms, development of and increase of use, ICT tools, exchange of knowledge and innovation. There is a lot of new possibilities which could support AKIS. Every month we have new offers, how AKIS could work better. Farmers are modern every day. This means that we should follow farmers' expectations, and we should be good enough to offer to our farmers what they really need. In existing period, 2014 to 20, we have a range of measures to support knowledge and innovation, network of agriculture and rural innovation as such, network which is closed and present in regional advisory and national advisory center. We are quite active in cooperation, especially last 2 years, 35 groups working. I'm talking about EIP-AGRI groups, whereas 150, at the moment, 150 application is almost finished. We hope that in one or maximum next month we will sign new contracts. Hopefully, it will be at least 100. We organize already. I mean, advisory system training for farmers. About 142,000 participants. They already graduate this different forms of training. A lot of demonstrations, training for advisors, which is crucial because we have quite a lot of changes in this group of advisors, and advisory service for farmers. More than 47, or almost 48,000 recipients, because farmers need individual support, very strict, very adequate to what they need to need for the order of the individual farm. Finally, our plan. What the CAP? How the CAP we would like to establish. First of all, cooperation. EIP-AGRI, of course, but not only. Cooperation as such. Cooperation activity. We think that cooperation, EIP-AGRI cooperation, will be the vehicle to think about new forms of agriculture advisory, and will build our whole AKIS concept. Comprehensive advisory service programs, that's for sure. Training and information for farmers and rural residents. That's still, of course, is needed. But what is important that we have different group of farmers, and for different group of farmers we need completely different very specific offers, in this case training. improving qualification and skills of agriculture advisors, teachers, and researchers. That's what we are doing constantly. But now we know, thinking about new challenges with the new technologies, we have to shift all this qualification to completely a different higher level. Finally, CAP network supporting AKIS system, that's what we're thinking of, is that system is a key word concerning Polish AKIS. Everything is there, but what we need is to build this in very comprehensive and very smart way. Thank you so much.
Thank you to both Minister Ardanowski and Mr. Kamiński there. I think really interesting presentations with the Minister very much talking from the perspective of farmers and how high the bar has now been placed for the farming community, and recognising agriculture as having massive potential, but also potentially having the biggest challenges as well, with Mr. Kamiński then giving an insight into the Polish AKIS, which will hopefully be the toolbox that unlocks that potential in Polish agriculture. I'm now really excited to be handing over to Raquel Arroyo, who is from the operational group EIP-AGRI, who is going to give us a background into what they're doing. Thank you.
Good morning. First of all, thank you very much for counting on us for this seminar. EIP-AGRI Operational Group has established an effective knowledge exchange system in the field of organic farming, but it can also be used to transfer other practices or innovations towards the agricultural sector. It was one of the final nominees for the Rural Inspiration Awards 2020. I will talk about the problems members, MidCon, and the results achieved. With EIP-AGRI project, we wanted to tackle 3 problems. The low efficiency of rain-fed farming in great part of the cereal producing area in Spain. We had, however, an opportunity in the organic farming, which is more sustainable, more resilient to climate change, and the most important for producers, is more profitable. Second, the lack of organization among producers. And third, knowledge transfer systems used until now, usually unidirectional, have not been effective. It's not enough publishing papers and organized seminars with the agricultural sector in mind. The operational group is composed by different actors. It allows to join different points of view, experiences, and abilities in order to get the objectives effectively. EIP-AGRI designed a knowledge exchange system called Innovative and Transcendent Knowledge Exchange Methodology, MidCon in Spanish, based on networking, where the different participating actors are the experts, applied researchers, and other experts who have broad knowledge and field experience. But it's also very important they have the capacity for transmitting it. The technical advisors, they were selected among the technical staff of the professional agricultural organizations. Many of them were really skeptic about the organic production. After being trained in advanced concepts about organic farming, they were totally convinced that it was a more profitable option for the associate producers. The tutors, farmers who have been producing organic for a long time. Their experience is very valuable for farmers who are beginning to change their production model. And the pioneers, farmers who are going to perform the conversion to organic farming with the help of the other members of the project. They have received personal advice given by the technical advisors with the support of the experts, and training in productive, administrative, and commercial aspects. All these members create a knowledge exchange network using a digital platform where doubts, experiences, and success are shared, getting closer all the net members. And finally, the neighbors, those producers that are still reluctant to take the next step towards organic farming. We have celebrated field and technical workshops in order to bring them close to this production model. Moreover, the farms of the pioneers act as pilot fields so that the rest of the farmers in the area can see the achieved results. Thanks to this knowledge exchange methodology, we achieved a broad range of results. An effective and faster way to exchange the knowledge, the income of the producers increases, the networking between producers favors their future association. The advice provided by the professional agricultural organizations has improved, so they could guide other farmers toward more sustainable and profitable practices. Research centers could focus in a better way their projects in order to respond to the agricultural sector problems. And savings of hidden costs that non-sustainable practices could have and could finally turn into economic costs for the whole society. You have here some data about the participants, activities, and achievements of the projects. We have published a final report of the results, also available in English, and some videos about the project, so you could know more about the project and the conclusions obtained. Also, the fish used for the Rural Inspiration Awards is available on the EIP website. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Raquel. Another really interesting example of what's going on project-based activity, as well as that broader AKIS strategy level. We do now have an opportunity for any of you to ask questions, so hopefully you've been popping those in the chat. And Mark has been keeping an eye on those for us. So any questions that you found, Mark, for either Raquel or Mr. Kamiński?
Yes, Sarah, we have a question here for Ryszard. It is in relation to the agricultural chambers. And the question is, what is the specific role of the agricultural chambers in the Polish AKIS?
Hello. Hello again. Polish chambers are specific, as Mr. Ardanowski said. First of all, they play a role of representation of Polish farmers, that's for sure, but also they running relatively small advisory service, training for farmers, and for instance, specific service like legal service. There's many Polish farmers, they have many problems with regulations and with relations, for instance, with other citizens, with investors, let's say, and agriculture chamber, especially for instance in my region, when I was a director of the advisory, we worked together very close with agriculture chamber, and their role was to help farmers solve legal topics, matters, and they also assist farmers in this, and we cooperate. Sometimes we run common project with chambers, train in some specific activities. This means that we because now I'm a ministry, but agriculture advisory, public advisory, they work very close with agriculture chambers. This means that this is, from our point of view, this is wider offer than only public advisory. As I said during the presentation, another story is private advisory, because some farmers, they decide to go directly to commercial private advisory, and that's also good from our point of view. If they want, they have such a possibility. That's obvious. This is commercial relation. If they prefer to pay money and to be assisted by commercial advisor, by commercial consultant, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that response, Ryszard. I have a question here for Raquel in relation to the Eco-Pionet project. And the question is, what didn't go so well? It seems that you have had very positive results in terms of the impact on farmers' incomes and so forth. And the question here is, what didn't go so well? Is there anything you would do differently if you did this again? Quite a broad question there.
Yes, there are some things that are not going as well as we had desired. For example, one of the first, the main thing we would like to have had was more time to do the project and more resources, because there were more farmers who wanted to participate during the project, but finally we didn't have so much budget in order to advise all the farmers who have been becoming interested in participating in the project. And then there are other things that we have been adapting during the project to the circumstances. For example, we focus the project in herbaceous crops, and finally we see that there were the husbandry was very important too, and there were farmers with cattle interested in participating in the project, and it was very interesting because they consume some products that the farmers with only agriculture produce. So we changed a little bit the project in order to introduce these other issues related with the husbandry in our areas. And we had to change, we create a chat between all the members, researchers, farmers, technical advisors, tutors, pioneers. But we had to change that chat, and finally we have to use WhatsApp, for example, because it was more useful for all, because all of the participants knew that tool and not the other tool we wanted to use at the beginning. But in general, the system we have used has been very successful, has been very useful for researchers, for the pioneers, for tutors, for technical advisors, because we have technical advisor has improved a lot the capacity for guide other farmers, including those farmers who don't want to change their model to organic farming, but only want to do a more profitable activity. Researchers have learned a lot about the farmers and their necessities, and tutors have learned too, with the expert, with the other pioneers a lot from all the other members. So finally has been very successful. And I think the main limit we have had was the time and the lack of capacity for integrate more farmers.
Thank you, Raquel. Some comments coming in there also saying that farmers in other countries that do like receiving their recommendations via WhatsApp. We will have some more time for questions at the end of Inga's presentation, hopefully. But for now, back to you, Sarah, and we'll talk to you later on.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, and thank you to all of our presenters. I'm feeling inspired already, which is always a really good sign. Before we move on to Inga's presentations, I thought it would be useful. Can I just ask everyone to make sure they're muted, please? That would be fantastic. Thank you. Perfect, thank you. Before we move on to Inga's presentation, just to make sure we're all feeling ready to take on board lots of really interesting information about the various elements of AKIS, I'm just going to get us to move around a bit. So please do put yourselves on gallery view, which is in the top right-hand corner. So if you click on gallery, you can see everyone. And I did warn you yesterday, I'm going to nag you if you have your videos off. So please do pop your video on if you can. I know some areas have problems. I understand the weather's really bad around Finland and Estonia, so I don't know if that's affecting you. Brilliant, thank you. And now I'd like us to move around a bit, so have a bit of a stretch. But what I would like you to do, and you may, if you're like me, have to take your headphones off to avoid injury, I want you to get up from where you are and go as far back in your room as you can and still see the screen. So let's go. This is me, this is me. Okay, now come back, and I'd like you to get as close to your camera as you possibly can now as well. So I want to see lots of eyes across the whole of Europe zooming in on their cameras. So as close as you can, so we can all see big European eyes. Perfect. Now what I'm going to try with you, which is either going to work brilliantly or not, but I have complete faith in your manual dexterity. I'm going to try and get us to spell out AKIS just with our own bodies. So we're going to start with the A. See if we can all manage an A. Perfect. I can see some really lovely A's going on there. Oh, yes. Lena Edvardsson, that's a fantastic A from Sweden. Thank you very much. Now we're going to try a K. This is a little bit more challenging. Yeah. Paola Bolsonella, that's a pretty good K, because you're using your body as the main bit. That's much more sensible. I was trying to do K's just with my arms. So we've got some good K's. This is the easy one. Can we go for an I? Oh, yeah. Edgar Lin, that's a fantastic I. Thank you very much. Latvian I like that. And then the final challenge is the S. Oh, yeah. Marlene Geisen is doing a good snake type S with the arms. So if our technology is up to it, I'm hoping that we might have screenshot those. And later on in the event, we might even be able to put together some examples of all of you spelling out AKIS, which will be just wonderful. Okay, brilliant. So hopefully we're feeling a bit like we've moved around from our chairs and are feeling a little bit energized. If you pop yourselves back to speaker view, that would be perfect for me. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Inga van Oost from DG AGRI. And she is going to talk to us about the various elements of AKIS and how they form the building block of this new and very exciting piece of CAP strategy. So Inga, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Inga van Oost from DG AGRI, European Commission. And it's my pleasure to explain to you the basic elements for a well-functioning AKIS. First of all, what is AKIS? It's in fact the organization and interaction of persons, institutions, organizations who use and produce knowledge and innovation for agriculture and interrelated fields. And who are they? Farmers, foresters, advisors, researchers, organizations, NGOs, networks, education, retailers, etc., etc. All who produce and need knowledge. And why are we focusing on this AKIS? Because the aim is to create a regional or national innovation ecosystem by enhancing knowledge flows between the AKIS players and to strengthen the links between research and practice. You can read this in an 8-page brief where the link is here below. Now, because the A stands for agriculture, there's often a bit of confusion. So I want to explicitly say that AKIS stands for everything, whatever farming and rural activities automatically relate to. So rural areas are included, landscape, environment, climate, biodiversity, consumers, citizens, food and non-food systems, transformation, processing, distribution chains. It's a wide A. So this is key. And you can read later on where this AKIS policy comes from. In fact, it's from researchers who said themselves, we have to change our system. Gradually, because this group has been working now in its 5th mandate, more political interest for this has come. And finally, we made a dedicated report which lay at the basis for our CAP policy on AKIS now. And here you see the handover to Commissioner Hogan. So why AKIS? Kerstin told it yesterday, because reinforcing AKIS integrates and ensures these knowledge flows and innovation. Now, one of our studies learned that between the different member states, there's a big difference. We have member states who put a lot of money in their AKIS system, like the Netherlands, the UK, strong, powerful AKIS systems, but also other countries where there's not so much money, like in Greece or Portugal or Romania. We call them weak AKIS systems. And in the other axis, you see the fragmented and the integrated. We have fragmented AKISs, which means that the different organizations and institutions and persons don't work well together. And then you have a number of well-integrated AKISs in countries where systematic and structural bridges between the different organizations and institutions and persons are being made. Now, our AKIS comes, in fact, already from the start in the EIP-AGRI, and we are still behind this interactive innovation model that we apply in operational groups and in multi-actor projects under Horizon, and which is also the basis for AKIS. It's all about collaboration between a variety of actors to make the best use of complementary types of knowledge, scientific, practical, organizational, etc., in view of co-creation and good dissemination of solutions and opportunities which are ready to implement in practice. We call this model our interactive innovation model, and it's also the basis for AKIS. You know our bigger picture. Kerstin explained it again yesterday. So we combine the two policies, the CAP and the Horizon policies, and we try to spread the results as well as possible. Because agriculture will be more and more knowledge intensive. And we already achieved a lot, but we need to go further with this increasing volume of practice-oriented knowledge. So what is changing now from the current period to the post-2020 AKIS strategic plans? And also the Green Deal is, of course, interfering here. We will, instead of just and only funding innovative projects with an EIP network, of course, to support it, we will now support in all the countries a whole innovation ecosystem that systematically interlinks people and projects. These are the provisions that we call the modernization objective. And it is really cross-cutting. It interlinks all our specific CAP objectives. Now, we give, of course, a continuation of the things that have success, like our operational groups, and also the EIP networking, which will be called CAP network in the future. But it will contribute to all 9 specific objectives. It will not be limited anymore. So it will also cover, for instance, the Green Deal, and I will show you this with a little picture, because there are 3 specific CAP objectives that are dedicated typically for the Green Deal and also the Farm to Fork strategy. So you see that with our cross-cutting objective, we will cover all these different topics. Now, here's the main article for AKIS in CAP strategic plans. First of all, this article says that you have to explain the current situation, the existing AKIS, in your SWOT analysis. You have to explain how it is organized. Then how you will improve it in the future. What will the future AKIS do to make advisors, researchers, and our CAP networks to work better and more structured together within the framework of the future AKIS. And the result should be then, and you also have to explain that, how better advice and innovation support services will be provided. Our regulation makes things a little bit complicated because our provisions are a bit spread all over the regulation. That's why this slide can be useful for you. You know where to find our cross-cutting objective. You know where to find our modernization article. Then, of course, key is where's the money? That's in Article 72 and 71. And where are the details on how to use that money? And for advice and innovation support, you can find that in Article 13. And for EIP and operational groups, you can find this in Article 114. And all along this, our CAP networks will help us to foster innovation and knowledge exchange. This is how a SWOT of a country would look like. So it's an example of a current AKIS. So you will explain to us how your current AKIS is working. So all the institutions are there, and you will see that some are better linked and others are less good linked with the dotted lines and where linkages should be improved. We have a toolbox, you know that, you saw that yesterday, just for you to remember that. And I will stop here for a few questions.
Brilliant, thank you, Inge. Mark, have you been keeping an eye on the chat, and is there any questions in there that you would like to present to Inge?
Yes, a lot of interest in Inge's presentation here, Sarah. Inge, first question here is coming from the Netherlands. So is, for a good AKIS system, a chief AKIS required, meaning a person or body overseeing all AKIS actors? And I guess that came through in some of the Google Docs as well about maybe an AKIS coordinator. Do you think that there's a role for that, such a person or body?
Yes, Mark, do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
First, take the occasion to also give my warm welcome to everybody, the people we know, our usual clients, and all the new people we see here today. Now, replying to the question, we think, and that's also how it is conceived now in the regulation, we will ask the member states to indicate an AKIS coordination body. Because for the simple reason, if you want to execute something, you have to keep an eye on it. You have to build it first and then keep an eye on it. So this AKIS coordination body can be a quite large platform who is then impersonated by a person or an institution who will be the interacting line with the Commission, but behind which there's maybe a whole group of people, stakeholders, ministries, etc., helping to conceive first the AKIS strategies and the interventions, and then all along the 7 years, helping to follow it up, steer it, where it needs to be amended, and if anything needs to be amended, just put it forward to us and ask for a change.
Thank you, Inge. Just another question in from Romania here. The question is, how do you think that it is possible to bridge the gap between the member states with fragmented or weak AKIS systems and the ones with the strong AKIS? To meet the new CAP strategic objectives, all member states need a strong AKIS system to build an agricultural system based on knowledge and innovation. So that, I suppose, unlevel playing pitch that is across Europe in terms of the strength of various AKISs. Would you care to comment on that?
Absolutely, and maybe by just repeating what Aniko said yesterday. For those who were there, you will remember that she said, we need time. We have this learning system as our seminar today and a number of seminars we already did around EIP operational groups. I think that the more the good message is spread, and in particular also the details of how you can do things and the good examples as we had from Raquel there, that an operational group is not just there like some kind of applied research where the researcher says how to do things, but that it's really a network and that people are involved, such as advisors who by that improve their capacity. So I'm not going to go into the detail, but just saying that these exchange of best examples and coming regularly together at an EU level is really spreading the message. And we see this happening already now. We have a number of Eastern countries where already things are changing a lot. If you have listened to Mr. Kamiński this morning, I think it really illustrates how well everything already at the political level is understood. And I'm quite sure Poland will move in the right direction. And this will be the case also for the other member states. I have regular contacts also through the AKIS strategic working group, who is focusing on this. And with time, I'm quite sure it will come. But of course, for the real motivated people, I know it's difficult to wait. And I can just say, as Aniko said, have some patience, please. But we're sure it's gonna come. Times are changing.
Okay, I think we have a raised hand here in our participant list there from Rosa. If you care to switch on your microphone and pose your question.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much, Inge, for your excellent presentation here. It's always very well come. I just would like to ask. If you know, if you're aware of any mechanism to foster at a national level or at a regional level the involvement of professors at the university and these research centers to this AKIS system. We in Spain have a what is called a transfer payment, where that has been launched as a pilot project in 2018, and it reaches a large interest because more than 15 researchers applied for this reward. I would like to know if there is some similar examples in other countries, and your opinion about this type of initiatives from our government. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Inge, if you can you provide a response to Rosa, please?
Well, it was nice hearing from Rosa herself that already in her region things are changing. We will see another example tomorrow from IRTA, where there's really a quantitative measurement of the efforts that researchers do to get into contact, to disseminate, to join meetings where farmers and researchers, farmers and advisors are meeting the researchers. In your own country, Mark, you also have connections in groups. Your research programs in Chorgask are being co-decided by the stakeholders, being farmers and advisors. But to be honest, I think we're still far away of what we would like to see. But I must say the impact again is growing, and also here we must be patient and learn from examples. And that's why I would really advise you, take a look to what IRTA has done, because in this whole knowledge and innovation, there's one big difficulty, it's measurements. And politicians who give money to certain measures, they want to see the results. And you can count the number of investments or the number of farmers doing agro-environmental measures, or the number of hectares or whatever. But in our field, it's very difficult to put a measurement on your head and know how good the knowledge flows are. So I think take a look tomorrow. It's something certainly to learn from, and could maybe be shared even at an EU level, who knows, whatever. But I think there are many more ways. Also, Spain in the last day will present how they are working at a high level between the Ministries of Agriculture and Research in this AKIS coordination body, to ensure that researchers get some free time and to look how they can give more leeway to their researchers for actions beyond that scientific publication only, to connect with practice and with farmers and advisors.
Okay, we've lots of really good questions coming through, and but for now we're going to have to move on to the next session, and hopefully we'll have time at the end of our overall session here. So back to Sarah for the remainder of this session.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and thanks, Inga, and some really interesting questions. And it's also great to see that people are saying, "Oh, that's a really good question. I kind of wish I'd asked that one as well." So hopefully all really useful for you. And now I'm going to hand back to Inga for part 2 of her presentation. Thank you, Inga.
Thanks for your questions. Time to go ahead and go more into depth on our new approach for farm advice, because it will be organized within the AKIS structures. First of all, there's an obligation to ensure that farmers and other beneficiaries of CAP support are being advised, and you will need to include that in your CAP plan. Moreover, these advisors will not be separate in a system anymore. They should be integrated within the AKIS system in an inclusive way, to be able to cover not a limited number of subjects, but to cover economic, environmental, and social dimensions, and moreover to deliver up-to-date technological and scientific information developed by research and innovation. And here you see why it's so important for advisors to be well linked with researchers and with the CAP networks, who can bring all this information to them, maybe in a back office where the specialist advisors share that with the field advisors. Another new thing is that advisors must be impartial. We will only pay with EU money for impartial advisors. Companies can pay for their own advisors. Of course, they are part of the AKIS, but they will not receive CAP support. And they will need to be able to provide innovation support, in particular for preparing and implementing operational group projects. How to strengthen these farm advisors within the AKIS? First of all, try to help your advisors to be more in a listening mode and be more interactive. Of course, they need to deliver holistic advice. The farmer doesn't want 5 answers, he wants one clear answer that is targeted to the farm and to the farmer's context. A website cannot solve that. You have to talk with the farmer, see the context, see how his farm works. Training will be an important intervention for advisors. Maybe have obligatory training, sufficient amount of days to do that, exactly as other professions, as doctors, veterinary are having this. We probably need this also for our advisors, especially on innovative techniques and outcomes of operational groups and multi-actor projects, and on these interactive soft skills. But you will have to make this training attractive and qualitative. Use some common advisory tools with which you can attract the new advisors which are not yet known, even maybe, make a back office that can support all advisors. So ensure that your advisors are more competent than they were in the past. Also enable farmers to find those advisors who can help them best. Public registers with info on the education of the advisor, his experience, his continuous professional development training, cross-border exchanges, maybe he learned things abroad, maybe a specific thematic focus that he has, and membership of an advisory platform. So be very transparent on this, that the farmer can choose the right advisor for his purposes. And invest in tools for advisors, like measurements or digital tools. Here's an example of how you can pay with the setting up for advisory services. A mobile advisory unit which can measure the blood of the cows, the illness, the pregnancy, etc. Innovation support must be available in the preparation phase as brokers and in the phase of implementing the project as facilitators. And regular interaction with researchers is important in workshops, in exchanging during farm demos, in being located in the same building, which also helps trust and informal contacts, in biannual meetings, in a back office where specialist advisors who then have a thematic focus can help their colleagues, field advisors. Make sure that you have regular participation of your advisors in operational groups and that they share the knowledge coming out from it with their colleagues, with their clients, and beyond, with the broad audience. There are ideas about advisory networks, region-wide, country-wide. We even have already 2 EU-wide advisory networks where they can share the newly generated knowledge among them. Now, how can CAP networks help? We have a dedicated session on that. I will not go into that here, but the main thing is work with all the outcomes we have from our projects. Look to the connection with Horizon projects because there's still a big gap to fill, and use all that material to provide input for training, peer-to-peer events, demonstration websites, e-learning, etc. And make sure that you also have physical events, because there people meet and they get trust in each other and they link up, and future cooperation and innovation can start from that. And please start already now, because it's important not to wait too long. These things have to mature. As I said, it's important to link up to Horizon, and they also have dedicated national contact points who can help your CAP networks to know more about Horizon, when are calls, which projects are running, etc. Now, we are preparing for EU knowledge reservoirs to serve our advisors' back offices for innovation support and for more competent advice. And this is ongoing. You will learn more along the seminar about it. We will follow all this through a result indicator. And here are the types of interventions that can contribute, not only training, but also back office work, a mobility budget to go abroad and learn things, helping to provide innovation support, specific innovation support on specific issues, or broad innovation support, doesn't matter. They can lead thematic networks at national level. They can lead on-farm demonstration events, all ways to integrate them within the AKIS with dedicated interventions that count for this result indicator. Now, some ideas are collected in this SCAR AKIS report. Let's go through them. This is an overview slide where I just want to show you the 4 big strands you have to take into account. First of all, enhance knowledge flows and strengthen the links between research and practice. There's still a lot to do there. Second, work with your farm advisors within the member states AKIS. Make all these linkages as I already explained in the former slide. Then we haven't spoken about operational group yet. And operational groups are such a successful format, and member states have learned meanwhile a lot from each other, so they can probably in the next period do better to connect actors, to facilitate cross-border and transnational calls, to improve their own calls, to tackle subjects that are not tackled yet, etc. And don't forget, of course, the digital revolution. We can have operational groups on it, but also use the digital for repositories for agricultural data or digital skills development. Some further examples and ideas, in particular on enhancing knowledge flows. This filtering, summarizing and translating of all information for your country from your operational groups or from Horizon projects is key and can help. And here the CAP networks are really the instrument to help. To create knowledge centers or platforms or reservoirs, whatever name you give it, you collect knowledge and you try to share as well as possible. Give specific incentives also to researchers so that they are making their results easy accessible in dissemination channels for farmers. You will see an example from IRTA, who is doing that already now. The funding you can have in technical assistance, also Article 72, plenty of actions to be funded with that, but you might need also to reorganize some of the tasks within the research bodies. National thematic networks, to the example of EU thematic networks, can deliver training and also education material, while at the same time they interlink a mix of actors. And they can organize bottom-up calls to disclose the farmers' needs and have regular face-to-face events in a thematic way. Our CAP networks are key, and don't forget that there are also soft ways to improve knowledge flows. For instance, what is called co-location, putting researchers, advisors, and even networks in the same building. You could even combine that with education, with farmers' organizations, because it's cheap, it's simple. People meet at a coffee place or when they eat their lunch together. It's cheap, it's efficient, and it's informal.
Thank you, Inga. We're going to take a pause again then before her final chapter of her presentation to have a look at your questions. So, Mark, what's been coming up in the chat this time?
Okay, Sarah, thank you, Inga, for excellent presentation again, stirring a lot of interest from our audience today. Starting off a question from Michael Kugler here, Inga. Question is, looking at the first drafts of AKIS chapters in national strategic plans, we can observe the risk they design a development of AKIS only on the national level and to forget to cross borders as a standard for all actors. How can we inspire them to cross borders?
Thanks for the question, because of course this is what we want. We want in the end good national AKISs in order to connect them and to link them up into one big EU AKIS. From this part of the presentation, you will have had several elements. We're working under Horizon Europe funds, making, for instance, EU advisory networks, where the advisors of the different countries work together. We will continue with this type of format, just as we did with the thematic networks in the past. They will also be continued. Again, there we go across border, and Horizon is, of course, the instrument to work among different countries. You also saw our efforts on the knowledge reservoir, where we will ensure that it is interoperable with the national AKISs so that they can profit from it. We hope to have a dedicated project exactly on looking into these variety of AKIS approaches and putting all our AKIS platforms together in one project to learn from each other intensively. So again, there it's this mutual learning. But of course, the main thing to do immediately is in your CAP plan, build in your AKIS interventions, which immediately ensure cross-border. One of our very best AKISs, the one from Austria, in our SCAR AKIS working group, proposed very quickly a mobility fund. A mobility fund for advisors to go abroad to learn there from practices that they don't have in their country or that they have an interest in. This is a simple, relatively cheap measure. You pay for some travel costs and they come back. They have to report, maybe write something in a farmer's journal, share it in some meetings and go across border with that information that you got from somewhere else. There are further interventions. I will not go into detail on this one question. And of course, not to forget our EU networking, as we are doing today. Keep on joining it, because we will continue giving good examples and sharing also the cross-border elements. I think we will probably need for cross-border operational groups, and that will come also out of Hadi Tam's presentation, some coordination. How are we going to synchronize those cross-border calls? So there's, of course, still work to do, but I think we already have good start thanks to our connection with Horizon and you also in your strategic CAP plans on AKIS.
Inge, I have a number of questions coming in relation to the training for advisors, but some people saying here that it isn't expected to the funding of this to be covered in post-2020 CAP regulations. So how are member states to fund this? And maybe if I could combine another question then, is to, how do we include professional advisors, and the majority of them, all of the small, the big, public, private, all of the different categories of advisors. Hope you don't mind me combining the two questions into the one.
Maybe first on the training of advisors, already in the current period, we were funding that. So in our Article 72, it's not explicitly there, but it's such broadly written that it is there. If you would be unsure, I can assure you that with Article 72, you have EU funding to help this training of advisors. And from the presentation, you will have understood how important we think this is. By the fact only that we put AKIS policy in place, it shows that advisors are in the center and need to be interlinked with new research, new information coming through the CAP networks. So how else can you do that than by organizing training in a variety of forms, not necessarily the meetings, the usual training, but maybe with discussion groups or platforms or mobility budgets, etc. So we want to support this, and it's up to you to put it into your CAP plans. Maybe the fact that it's not literally in the regulation has confused a little bit, but anyway, I hope that's corrected then. Now, how to include all advisors, that's another issue, because I realize this is an absolute difficult thing, which will need some time. We had a project, the ProAKIS project, where we asked an inventory of advisors, because many of our private advisors are even not known to the ministries. So how can they reach them? How can they invite them to trainings? And a few of the things we already heard and learned from the discussions in the strategic working group is that you could do a call, for instance, for instead of certifying, just do a call for research for advisors to come forward and make sure that what you offer them is attractive, because the moment they are in your training room or wherever you organize or how you organize your training, they are losing money because they are not gaining an income by at that moment advising clients. So you have to keep this in mind and maybe foresee a dedicated budget for that. But as I said, the first step is to find them. And this we built in the I2 Connect Horizon project to make, again, a new inventory of advisors. And we do hope that this will also help to discover, on top of course, in your own country, you will have to do the effort, maybe through a call or whatever, to find those advisors and then to attract them with interesting events and interesting training so that they want to join. And you, Mark, could later on maybe also tell about your connected project program that is already connecting with the private advisors.
Sure, thanks, Inge, and I'll hopefully get a chance to share details about that later on. Again, I'm getting messages here that we need to move on, so back to you, Sarah, and we'll move to the next part of the discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And we are also focusing on how to integrate advisors into AKIS after lunch. So there'll be some inspirational speakers there talking about how they've approached that challenge within their own member state. But now for Inge's last chapter of her presentation, and again, please do keep the questions coming, and it's really nice to see the chat that's going on there as well. So Inge, please, yeah, the last section, thank you.
Now, the second strand of improving AKIS is all linked to farm advisors. And there we have a dedicated block in part 3. So I will just skip this one for the time being, because we will go more into depth and see a few examples too from countries. On interactive innovation projects, operational groups, it's important that you foresee sufficient funding for operational group calls that are, if possible, continuous. You can do it with cut-off dates, maybe 3-4 times a year, but please realize that when a farmer has an innovative idea, he is not prepared to wait 3 years or 5 years before this gets really tested out. So that's where ASA's example from Sweden is very useful to show how you can do it. Also, from the Irish, we see that they have a set of calls. They have bottom-up calls and also more thematic calls for certain subjects that they absolutely want to be digged out and worked on. So it's a nice combination of capturing grassroots ideas and still having dedicated topics to be tackled. So think about a set of calls. Enable advance payments. It's possible from the EU legislation, so it's up to you now to also make it possible in your country, because if a farmer has an idea, wants to start an operational group, he doesn't have big pockets like research organizations have. So if you want to incentivize farmers to start with operational groups, this is very useful. And it's, by the way, also the normal way of working in research projects. All Horizon projects have at least 50% up to 80% advance payments. So why shouldn't we do that with our operational groups? Key thing is now to ensure involvement of advisors in operational groups. They are multipliers. They can bring the knowledge that is built there outside the group to a broader audience. They bring in also the practical context because they see a lot of farms, so they can help to have better results and ensure that they are involved. Give them also multiple roles. We will see that in next slide. CAP networks and knowledge reservoirs should help cross-border operational groups. Cross-border operational groups, Hardy will speak about his first experience, are not easy. The calls are not at the same time in each of the countries. The conditions are different. So you will have to work together on beforehand in order to have such cross-border operational group calls. And I think that those who can help prepare that are in particular the CAP networks and of course also the managing authorities who have to put the calls in place. What we see that until now we've worked very well in our operational groups, but still many operational groups have not communicated enough. So you could add maybe a condition that they have to put a dedicated budget on communication, or you can have a dedicated budget apart from the operational groups, which covers all the operational groups and is really there just to communicate on all innovative projects. It doesn't matter, but it's clear that we need to communicate better on what we are doing. It's not sufficiently known what all these operational groups are producing, which is such great knowledge. And use the existing channels where farmers are going to look, their agricultural journals, the website of their agricultural producers organization or farmers organization, maybe the radio they still have or the television. So go there and put the information there where they can find it, where they are used to go to look for information. Peer-to-peer learning is very key. And you saw this yesterday from the example of EcoPionet, where in their operational groups, they have a lot of networking elements. This works very well. And also further on for operational groups, it can be interesting to have an activity to go cross-border, to look to the subject that they are dealing with, to look how it works in other countries, or to ask specific actors who can incentivize, give expertise. It's important also to look to education. You have a lot of people doing stages, doing thesis. Young people are very innovative minded and can really ask questions that other people are so used to certain habits that they forget to reflect about it. So please involve also the young people. Sometimes they are just cheap workforces. Why not? They can do their thesis for you and they can help you with your operational group. Reflect on a before life, platforms where actors can regularly meet, that's AKIS, funding for preparation, fund your step 1 for your operational group, and reflect also on the afterlife. The communication is so important, the connection with other operational groups to learn from each other with multi-actor projects. Design maybe a specific fund for this after project communication of innovative projects. As I said, we still do not share enough the results of operational groups. They have to arrive with every farmer in the country. Ensure an efficient coordination within member states. All these organizations have to work together. That's why we have an AKIS coordination body, and ensure that they learn from each other. And typically in regionalized countries, it is a challenge. Each region is working on its own, and you have to foresee something dedicated that these regions can work together. In Spain, they have national operational groups and regional operational groups. This is a solution, but there are also other solutions. But please try, at least within your own country, to coordinate and to exchange your experiences and learn from each other. Then last but not least, the digital transition is there. You can interlink a lot of public data. You can set up platforms on how to better manage this digital transition. You can finance operational groups on digital applications, but make them public available and don't finance things that companies will do otherwise themselves. And this is typical when you have only 70 or 80% financing. Digital companies come in and they say, we will give you the 20-30%, but you will do what we would like to see you to be doing. So in the end, you pay public money for private purposes. And it should be the other way around. It should be public knowledge that we are producing with operational groups. Training is important, knowledge reservoirs with common standards that are interoperable, and sharing of digital tools is important. It reduces the maintenance cost. I'm almost at the end of my story for today, and I would like to finalize this first step with what Jean Monnet said when Europe was started in 1954. He said, what stops us is the fear of change. AKIS looks like something so difficult, and we hope that this seminar will help you to understand what it is, what you can do, what is the best intervention to choose for your country, because it is on change that our salvation depends. That's what Jean Monnet said. You have also the SCAR AKIS report that will help you with a few dedicated sections. You have the link here. You have the sections that will help you most. And we want to build and link all these AKISs in countries across the EU. We will do our best from our side with the CAP network at EU level. You will do your best in your country with your CAP network to speed up creativity and practice application, and to have a better connectivity and quicker circulation of information. Thanks a lot for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy learning from the rest of what we planned for this seminar.
Thank you, Inga. That was a really brilliant presentation. Thank you. I have seen that we have had a few more questions come in, so I'll hand over to Mark, that I know has had his eagle eye on them. So any further questions for Inga, Mark?
Yes, Sarah, lots and lots of questions coming through here, and comments as well. If I might just, there's been suggestion of a mobility fund there to allow for that cross-border interaction, and we'll certainly follow up on that. And also, I guess, a reminder to people that there is that SECRA framework which has been developed by UFRAS and IALB. That's a methodological training for advisors. And I can say that it's running very successfully in Ireland. We've had nearly 600 training places offered over the last number of years, so it's something definitely worth looking at. So questions for Inga there. Inga, there's a question here in relation to existing networks that already are in place there. An example of an agroforestry innovation network, and they're trying to build this network, and they're asking, would you advise, this is from Rosa, would you advise member states to follow up with existing networks and to support them? Thanks for your excellent presentation.
Yes, well, this is a quite easy question, Mark. The AKIS is there to connect with all actors who use and produce knowledge. So obviously, existing networks, whatever they are, should in one way or the other be interlinked within this AKIS work. And maybe again, this should be a separate intervention where you can invest in getting these people together and sharing their knowledge, not only sectorial knowledge, because often networks are a bit sectorial oriented, but don't forget our inspirational talk yesterday from this innovation support service, and remember how cross-sectorial you can work also with networks and connecting to networks. I think this is just basic work of an AKIS platform to link to those networks, to be honest. But for everything you do, you will need money. And in my final presentation, before we start with the CAP plans and the examples, that's probably what I will remember and tell you, that our SCAR AKIS group, when we were discussing all these measures, and it resulted in a list of 10 pages of possible AKIS interventions, mostly financeable under Article 72. This means that with this 3% of our rural development budget, as we now have in average in the EU, will definitely not manage to do what is our ambition. And there was a view to go to maybe some ring fence budget and maybe to impose 10%. But in the end, it didn't come in the regulation, but the awareness should be there that these things don't happen by accident. You have to make interventions, foresee funding, etc. Several CAP networks don't have enough funding for the work. Just an example, France, such a big country, there's one person who has to manage the whole networking for EIP for France. So the activities obviously are limited. So investment funding is important to link up with these networks.
If I might ask Ryszard Kamiński, there's a question that came in earlier on. I didn't get the opportunity to put to Ryszard. If you could maybe unmute yourself for a moment, Ryszard. The question, are you there, Ryszard?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Great,
okay.
Great. The question, it says, you give us an image of the Polish AKIS as a closed shop inside Poland. Our experiences, I should have said, is from Michael Kugler. Our experience with Polish colleagues is that they like to learn also a lot by cross borders, and they are very welcome in EU countries. Please tell us what you're doing to support them to continue and deepen this linkage, this cross-border linkages.
Yeah, as Michael knows, of course, for years we trying to build a relation with partners from all over Europe. Personally, I was in Hungary and 3 years ago, and in Austria, and in, of course, in Ireland. We have several interactions, and what we're trying to build is direct relation also with Slovenia, with Anton and other partners, and we're trying to send our young advisors to different parts of Europe. They are very open to see how it works in other countries. Now, that's Inge knows exactly that I'm keen to finalize this contract for more than 100 groups waiting, and in end of this year we will have another call for short food supply chain. I hope that we'll have another 50 groups only with this topic, short food chains is for Poland at least, but in the pandemic situation it is important for everybody, in my opinion, that direct contact between producers and producer groups and customers. This is exactly how we could support farmers, and not necessarily by high innovation technological, but also with the platform, internet platform, but organizational innovation. Yeah. So we need these examples. We know that, for instance, this short food supply chain, we have excellent experience in Austria, in Germany, in Italy, and that's why we sent several groups to these countries and to examine, to see how it works. And our farmers plus advisors, they visit them, they invite people from those countries, and they're trying to build a Polish solution, I must say, because we need Polish solution. Everybody should adapt, it should find a solution for its own country. Whereas inspiration is everywhere. So we're looking for inspiration, we're trying to adapt, and to tell you the truth, the real problem a few years ago for Poland was language. Many of our advisors, as I said during my presentation, they don't know simply English language, or maybe some of them German. And now more and more young advisors, they are very open, they would like to learn, and they would like to exchange with European colleagues. So this is, in my opinion, a good case for whole Europe, that we should build this let's say a network of European advisors, and I hope that our new concept of AKIS. This is about networking of advisors in all over the Europe, yeah, and we need more and more, hopefully not virtual but physical meetings and exchange and study trips, etc. If cross-border activity is natural way to achieve this. So the only thing is, to tell you the truth, I'm quite surprised that we have only 200 participants today. I expect 1,000. We have 3,000 advisors in Poland, and I can see only maybe 8 to 10 persons from Poland. Why not 50? I'll examine this even this afternoon. Why not from my center, from my previous work, from my advisor center? That's my question, Mark. Why we have only 10 people from Poland, and why we have only 200 participants in this very exciting and interesting event, this EIP-AGRI seminar. So that's our point. Probably we should follow this. Okay.
Thank you, Ryszard. I think that your point is well made. I think this is seen as really very much the first step in this engagement process. Today we have a web meeting, and so it may have been difficult to organize a much broader meeting, but certainly I know there's interest from advisors in the presentations from today, but I certainly agree with you. I think we'll have to make extra effort now to get that buy-in from the wider groups, and Inge, you may want to comment on that. And so just also some comments picking up on your referencing to the work of the SCAR AKIS group. And this is really important work that's going on and has a lot of solid recommendations for member states to give them guidance in terms of implementing AKIS. And what we can circulate links. I think you have the links in your presentation as well. So Inge, maybe you'd like to come in on some of the comments that Ryszard Kamiński made there.
Well, I can only say that I'm 100% after what Ryszard has said. I think he exactly expresses what is also our wish. As you said, there are technical limits to this meeting. It was also for us our first event that we made with so many people online. The last events were 20 persons. We're using for the first time the Kudo. We're ensuring this translation. We have our app. We have the breakouts which will need to be organized. So for us, this is also a testing phase. But it gives a bright sight on the future. If we manage this, we can manage more. Now, what I would like to say is everything is recorded. So everything, even what we are discussing here, not just the presentations, but really the pre-recorded presentations with the full explanation, everything from this event will be on the website. And you will be able to pick out whatever presentation or whatever part to listen to, or just take 2.5 days to listen to the whole. And at any moment that suits you, if you're busy in the day, you do it in the evening. So this is already a task for the people at home who were not with us here, to promote this event and to share the links and to say, listen to this event, there's your inspiration. And this will also help our countries. And I refer to one of the former questions. This is the very first moment we can share all this. And as you know, we planned it in April. We hope to have this earlier. So this will probably help a lot of member states and AKIS platforms out there who still need further inspiration and understanding to see the light and see the possibilities and see what they can do best for their country. As I said, there's a plentitude of interventions you can do. There's European money for it. Don't forget that we do a special effort for EIP operational groups, whereas the normal measures have EU co-funding 43%. We have for our operational groups 80%. So I think this should make it really attractive, less national money to put in. You can network a lot with these operational groups. So plenty of opportunities there, and please promote this event. It should be not 1,000, but 10,000 people listening to it.
Great, thank you, Inge. And look, it's really about building a community around AKIS, and that's what we're about today. So this is the first step. Okay, Sarah, rapidly, back to you.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Mark. And thank you, Inge. That was just a fantastic presentation, and the question and answer session, I'm sure, was really valuable for everyone. So hopefully we now have all of those building blocks in place. Before we break for lunch, we are going to hand over to you as participants. And we're going to go back to the poll. So you may need to just flex your fingers up, ready to hit the right button. So we have a series of questions to ask you related to AKIS. There is no wrong answer. We're just trying to find out a little bit more and share our ideas about what you feel is most important to you. So our first question: which three main types of actors are the most important to interact in a better functioning AKIS? So we have farmers, advisors and businesses, or advisors, researchers and CAP networks, or CAP networks, farmers and advisors. And I know it's tempting to want to press all three, but please do pick the one that's most relevant and most important to you. I think these take a little bit more thinking through than the poll options I gave you yesterday. So please do vote. So at the moment we do have a front runner. So we've had over 100 of you vote now, and it's definitely CAP networks, farmers and advisors, with just over 50% of the vote, with the other two fairly evenly matched. So brilliant. An interesting result. Thank you. On to question 2. In your view, the main benefit of having a well-functioning AKIS is building greater coherence amongst actors, increasing the speed of innovation, or developing more holistic solutions for farmers. So again, the main benefit that you would see. So all options are getting votes, which is great. But again, I think we have a clear leader with, let me see, there's 120 of you have voted so far, with developing more holistic solutions for farmers. So interesting again, and it's nice to see that farmers are the focus of your benefits for your well-functioning AKIS. Fantastic. So it's 129, I think, if you voted there. And there we have your results. Okay, we'll move on to the third question. There's 5 of these, so over halfway through now. Which CAP objectives should the AKIS strategy and intervention support? So all 9. You'd actually like to prioritise the environmental objectives, or ideally one trusted advisor covers whatever issue on the farm, whether it's a CAP objective or not. And then thanks to the AKIS strategy, he or she is supported by a back office with specialist advisors well informed on up-to-date research. These are tough, it's so difficult to know which one would be most important for you in AKIS situation. Oh, this one's very close. Let's see, we've just got just over 100 of you have voted now. Oh, and just edging it in the last minute is having a trusted advisor covering all the issues on farm. But because of the AKIS strategy, they've got back office support with specialists who can inform them on up-to-date research. So interesting that's the one that you would prefer, that you would be the one that you would go for. So question number 4, how do you see the future role of advisors? More listening and targeted to the specific farm situation, or specialist, a farmer should work with at least a few different advisors, or giving holistic advice according to farmers' needs, while at the same time picking up good ideas, opportunities and problems to solve. Well, this could be our clear leader. So you're very much seeing that's nearly 120 of you voted so far, and you're definitely seeing giving holistic advice according to farmers' needs, whilst identifying other opportunities and problems as the future role of advisors, which is brilliant. And then our final question is, what do you feel should be done to improve the links between research and practice? So more regular meetings of researchers with farmers and advisors, building trust. Giving clear awards to those researchers involved in solving farmers' problems or developing innovative opportunities. Or adapt the EIP operational group calls to improve co-creation all along the project, combined with national thematic networks where science and practice meets. Oh, I think this is a really tough one. I think we may have saved the toughest one till last. I'm not surprised these are quite evenly matched. Excellent. So we do now with, let's see, nearly 120 again of people voting that adapting the EIP operational group calls is just out in the lead there with 44% of the vote, but the other two are very close behind. So that was really helpful. Thank you. That's a really useful insight to how you're feeling in your different member states and your different regions about what the focus of your AKIS should be and how that is developing. So thank you for your time there, that was very useful. So we're just coming up to lunch, but what we would really like to do is, before you go, is squeeze one set of blind dates in, so you have an opportunity just to talk to some of the other participants before you leave us. If you weren't here earlier, the idea of these is we randomly send you to a small breakout room with 3 other people that you may or may not know, and you have 5 minutes together just to answer a question. And we're hoping that these breakout sessions, because they're so short, are a catalyst for you to meet people that you can then have longer conversations with during the lunch breaks or during coffee or even evenings or in the following weeks to come. So the question that we would like you to focus on in your blind date session now is to talk about what you have found most useful this morning. So of all the fantastic presentations we've heard, what have been the most useful bits for you? So we'll leave you to share that for 5 minutes and then come back, and I'll give you 2 useful bits of information before we break for lunch. So go and meet your blind date buddies and give us just a few seconds to move you all into your breakout room. Thank you. A second. Oh yeah, hello. I hope everyone is now back from their blind date, and I had a nice mix of people I knew and people I didn't, so it was very exciting for me. So we're leaving you now for lunch. You have 2 choices with your Zoom. You can either leave yourself on and connected, And obviously just mute yourself and switch your camera off. And then when you come back for this afternoon, you won't need to check in again. Alternatively, you can leave Zoom, but do remember, if that's the case, then when you return, you're going to have to check in. So we'll need you back before 2 o'clock so we can get you through that check-in process. So it just leaves me to thank everyone who presented this morning. There was a really interesting mix and really inspirational. And to thank all of you that have asked questions and all of you that have participated with, spelling AKIS. Those things are just as important. And we look forward to seeing you for the check-in at 13:40 to start again this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So enjoy your lunch and we'll see you later.